Now, because I hardly know him, anything I say about my first guest this afternoon by way of introduction would fail completely to let you know what he and his family have been through. He's the author of a book called When Angels Cry, and his name is David O'Neill. David, welcome. Can you continue this introduction?
Sure. Andrew, the book that I wrote is really basically a personal account of what it's like, what it feels like, and what happens to a family when you find out that your little daughter is being molested by your own father. The consequences of that, the ramifications, it's damaging. It goes on for years and it destroys families, and it happens to an enormous number of people in our society today.
It happens to an enormous number of people.
Yes, it does, yeah.
Well, what then for you, because not every one of those people are able to write about it and talk about it, what for you did you go through?
I wrote the book initially as a bit of a self-analysis type of thing, and the book ended up because of my own journey of self-discovery and so forth. The book ended up being a fairly inspirational read, which is the reason I've published it now. What we went through really basically is, of course, the initial shock of finding out that this is happening within your own family and that it's a family member that's doing it. In our instance, there were other children involved outside of the family that my father was interfering with as well, and some of those others were the ones that eventually took him to court. But the book kind of leads you through the initial discovery, the consequences of that discovery, finding out about the other girls, the police investigations, the court cases.
So over what type of time period are we talking about?
This all started. I'm 42 years of age, and this started when I was 30. The initial investigations and the court cases and all the rest of it probably took up about 4 to 5 years of our lives.
So initially, though, you go from what, disbelief? Disbelief
initially within the first few minutes, yeah. But then you wonder, where is this coming from? How come my little girl? She'd just turned 4, and you know that kids that age don't make these things up.
Why did you call it this? Why did you call it When Angels Cry?
Basically because little girls are angels and they cry when they're abused. And the angels cry when children are abused.
So what have you then tried to achieve? I mean, it's quite a remarkable thing that a parent caught in the situation that you've been caught in is willing and able and goes ahead and publishes an account and a book that, from everything that I can see about it, is inspirational to others.
Yeah. I wrote the book out of anger, and although there is still some anger in there, the motivation for having published the book is anger at the ignorance and the lack of understanding out there. And I want, it's almost an impossible ask, but I want people who haven't been touched by child abuse and mental illness to understand as well, because they have to realise that if they're not touched by it, more than likely at some stage in their lives someone they know will be affected by it, and they will come to them for help. And if there's no help there, which was the case with us as a family, it just makes the whole thing an awful lot worse.
Let me ask you, David, has there been any opposition within the family and even outside to you writing and publicising what has happened to you and yours?
There's been an enormous amount of support from my side of the family. My daughter, who was 4 at the time, is now 17.
I was going to ask you how she is.
Yeah, she's great. She's fantastic. There's a small passage in the book that I'd like to read out if we get time later. But there's been a lot of support within my immediate family. My father doesn't even know I published the book. And another reason for
he's in jail. Sorry, he's in jail.
No, he's out of jail.
He's out of jail,
but he did go to jail.
And no contact.
No contact since, no, not at all with mum or dad. But yeah, a friend of mine heard Stan Zemanek on the panel yesterday on Beauty of the Beast, talking about the fact that there is a huge lack of resources in regard to these subjects, child abuse and mental illness in Australia, in this country. And I was aware of that, and that's another powerful reason why I wanted to publish the book. People don't write books like this. People don't write personal accounts of things like child abuse because a large factor in it is that they are afraid of the libel laws in this country. And our libel laws are antiquated in comparison to libel laws overseas. And there is still, my father doesn't know about the book yet, but there is still kind of a threat hanging over my head that my father may well attempt to sue me for libel, and then you get back into a whole big other mess with your father. But that's a risk I'm prepared to take.
All right, David. You're listening to Andrew Carroll talking with David O'Neill, author of an extraordinary book, When Angels Cry.